Welcome to BIA, Canada's top black media provider. Whether you're looking for shows on fashion, art, music, or simple lifestyle, we bring you the best content the black community in Canada has to offer and so much more. And better yet, do you have an idea for a project you'd like us to help you with? We provide equipment, studio, and office space, as well as a team of dedicated individuals to help you bring those ideas to life. So don't wait. Check out our new website at biamedia.ca for more information on how to contact us and start creating today. BIA Media, your way.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care and co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on May 2nd. Yes, May 2nd. It's May 1st. I'm trying to push the time by faster. It's May 1st. May 1st. Let's get it clear. And as always, Sunday afternoons around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we do this thing called Black Canada Talking. It's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes. Excuse me for a second. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Hopefully we're not going to sneeze. Let me say it again. Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And we also spotlight Black Canadians that you may or may not know of. And we have another new friend today, which is good. So we have Margaret Adekune, and she's the founder and chief executive officer of City Learning Centers. It's a credit building solution company. She has worked in the banking industry for over 20 years, and her passion for progress and dedication to her community has been universally praised by friends and colleagues alike. She has seen the struggles immigrants face and experienced them firsthand, driving her forward to take action and lift her community so that no one or nobody will have to endure the struggles alone. She founded Immigrants Inclusive Credit to tackle complex struggles with systemic racism and financial insecurities that immigrants are faced to adapt to as they integrate into the Alberta ecosystem. We're talking about that province, Alberta. And just recently, she appeared in an article that was in the Globe and Mail called Canada's Big Six Banks almost came together to help Black entrepreneurs, but then they went their separate ways. So let us welcome for the first time, but not the last time. Hello, Margaret. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you also from your quiet weekend. I'm being sarcastic.
Thank you. It's definitely not a quiet weekend.
Well, I hope that this next little bit is a peaceful time, and then you have to go back to your baking with your daughter, driving your son, football, all the other things you got to deal with. But I want to say thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I always, with our new friends that come on the platform, I like to get a little background about yourself. So what was younger Margaret about before she came to be a peaceful person and not a troublemaker, like you said in the past? So go ahead and share with us.
I came to Canada in 2000. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I don't know what number I am with my father's children. My father has 30 children.
How many?
My father has 30 children, 30. Believe it or not, 3-0.
Is he still alive?
He's gone.
Wow.
He's
I
gone.
know what probably sent him to heaven. Let's put it that way.
He has
30, 30
six wives
children.
and 30 children, yes. And my mother was number 3 or number 4. She was a young bride taken out of school and given to this local chief who happens to be my father. So my childhood wasn't too much fun, but here I am. I'm in Canada. I'm grateful about where I am. I'm a mother of 4 lovely kids.
Right.
One in the university, one is an athlete who thinks is a ladies' man. Then I have a middle one who is caught in between, and then I have a daughter. That's Margaret in a nutshell.
Okay, well, we got to crack a little bit of that shell a little bit more, if you don't mind.
Sure.
What was life growing up back in Nigeria, especially as a younger Margaret?
I guess the first few years we were still in the large compound with the other wives and children. We lived in a room, in a single room. So each wives own a room with their children. Then the husband, of course, the father has a room and a parlor, right? A living room, we call it parlor, where the children are not allowed to go in.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so growing up was like that. But eventually, my mother summed up the courage to leave that compound with her children because she wanted more for her children. And she was able to finally move us out of there to another area. And she was hunted, really hunted by my father to bring her back. But that was my childhood. She did everything possible within her power to get her children abroad and all out of Nigeria.
Wow.
Everything I am today and who I am, it's because of my mother, because of who she is and how strong she's been.
Is she still with us?
She is in New York. Yes, she's with us.
What?
She's still here.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, she came a long, long way. As a matter of fact, she became quite successful in a male-dominated industry. She became a car dealer. She owned a car dealership. This woman had no education. She cannot read or write. I don't even know how she did it. She traveled a lot, going to Germany. I don't know how she was able to read a passport. But I tell you, that tells you how hard work, resilience, and determination, it tells you how far that could take you.
I want to interview your mother.
Well, not me, my mother.
Well, after you, obvious. Come on now, after you, no problem. We got you right now, but that's an amazing story. Just a little I've heard right now. That's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. Let me ask, what did your mother stress with you, values-wise, when you were growing up? What values? Because she's quite the lady. What impact has she left on you? Okay, well, what did she stress on you when you were growing up? And then I'll ask another question.
Dignity in labor, a lot of dignity in labor. Because you're not there now does not mean you can't get there. And never ever let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Just based on her story, uneducated woman. And she was able to become really successful in a car dealership business in Lagos, Nigeria. That was huge.
Wow.
That was huge. So what something she always taught me was that there's dignity in labor. If you want it, you can get it.
Wonderful.
And that has been the story of my life as well, right? If I want something, I go after it.
So when you left home to other countries, was that with her? Was that on your own? Who was that with?
I left alone. I came alone. She arranged that. That would be a different story for another day.
Thank you for dropping that right there.
She arranged that. I came to Toronto 20 years ago, and I actually remember coming to Toronto. I was 23 years old, and that was the first time I actually owned a bed to myself. I keep sharing that story at 23 years old, and I tell my children, I said, you guys don't know how privileged you are. You own your own bed. That's a privilege. We slept on mats.
Wow.
Right?
If I just interrupt, Do you either have a picture of that bed, or do you remember the first night you slept in your own bed?
Oh, I wish I could. Again, don't get me wrong. I slept in a bed when I was in a university, owned by the school.
Yes.
But coming to Canada and owning that, I don't think I even thought much about it. I was just grateful for the first time in my
Wow.
entire life at 23 years old is actually mine alone. I'm not sharing with maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 people, right? So, yeah,
You
no, I
you,
have an
you mentioned
interesting story.
university. Where did you go to university, and what did you take in
Oh,
university?
I actually did medicine and surgery. Funny enough, I was in medicine and surgery for a few years. But again, that was my mother's dream at the time. It
Mm,
wasn't my dream. Back home in Nigeria, there's only three professions for the children: a doctor, an engineer, and then now I can't remember a lawyer. It's either
lawyer.
a lawyer, an
Yep.
engineer, or a doctor. Otherwise, it's not acceptable. So if you meet a lot of Nigerians, to be specific, that's all they wanted for their kids. But I think it was because there was no jobs, and those professions automatically you're able to, get a job. So of
Right.
course, no brainer. I was in medical school for a few years, and as soon as I came to Canada and I had that freedom, I took a different turn and I went into banking. She actually disowned me for a bit, but
Oh my goodness. Now you know what I want. I need it, both you together on an interview, because that would be really interesting.
oh, funny, so funny.
S-
But now
s-
I'm her favorite, just so you know.
Sure. Why did you make the switch to banking?
It's my personality too, right? I've always been somebody who loves to have conversations with people. When I got to Canada, of course, being by myself alone, trying to go to school, trying to work, I found out that I was very good with sales, which that was my mother. She was a
Mm,
saleswoman. She could sell you anything. Then
right.
I started learning more about myself and realized that I was very, very good with sales. My very first job was at President Choice Financial, a superstore. I was one of those people running after people, trying to get them to apply for Mastercard. One
You're
of
kidding.
I was one of those people. That was one of my first jobs, and
Wow.
after that was when I got a job at TD briefly in a call center, and then CIBC. And that was how I said, you know what, I'm good at this. I will just stick with it.
Mm. And were you keeping mom updated about these movements, and what was her reaction?
I didn't tell her for a long
You're
time.
so bad. What a bad daughter.
You couldn't do that. In our generation, we don't look at our parents in the face, right? They tell you, I
Mm,
want you to do this, you go do it. We don't look at them in the face. We have so much respect, right? I mean, not that kids these days don't have respect, but they question everything you do. We
right.
don't question our parents back then. So coming here and having the courage to fly and be free, go do what I feel I'm great at. I was like, I'll wait a little bit longer before I tell her, because she was waiting. She was waiting for me to become a doctor.
And I have to ask this question. How long did you not tell her what was going on?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it actually took a while. It took a while. I would say maybe more than a year or so, or maybe
Okay,
two
that's
years.
not too bad. I
Not
was
too bad.
thinking something. Oh my goodness, what I'm
Oh
going
God,
to.
no,
All
no,
right.
couldn't. Yeah.
Okay. So you go PC Financial, CIBC, TD. What was your role at TD?
Oh, it was a call center. It was a TD Visa call center, and I tell you, I didn't last. I didn't last maybe 3 months there because I was new. I'd never used a computer before.
Oh wow.
Right? You don't get this luxury, right? Again, maybe just based on my background, where I was coming from, right? It
Right.
wasn't the best of, there are so many
Sure.
Nigerians that, like my husband, he came from a very from a rich background. I wasn't that child. So I was using the computers for the first time. So they needed to be a little bit patient with me. But of course, it's an organization. They needed it to
Mhm.
pick it up faster. I was good at the sales, but then I wasn't catching on Excel very quickly. And I think I was fired within the first three months. Then I went
Yes.
back to sales. I got hired by CIBC in 2003. And I worked for CIBC for maybe almost 10 years. But in between, I went to RBC. I worked at Autonomous Savings Credit Union for a bit.
Wow.
I worked at all the bank except BMO.
Okay. All right. All right. When did you, so after you, oh, sorry. So let's talk about city lending for a little bit. How, well, okay, before we get there, when you're working with all these banks, you're still in Toronto, correct?
Yes, I was still in Toronto.
Okay, city lending. Now you moved, so before that started, obviously you moved out to Alberta, correct?
Yes, we moved to Alberta in 2011.
And what was your reason for moving out to Alberta?
It was for work for my husband, right? And in Toronto, after a while, he went back to school, of course, the story of every immigrant, went back to school for 3 years, graduated, couldn't find a job. At this point, we have 4 children, and I was pregnant at the time. He
Wow.
couldn't find a job. He had to go back and work in the warehouse, which frustrated him, as you would know, right, for a black man. So it got to a point we lost our house, our credit got ruined. Um, so we packed up one day and said, okay, we're just going to go to Alberta. At this point, I had a 3 months old baby with me. We got to Alberta.
Oh my
We didn't know
goodness.
anybody. We knew nobody, Dr. Vibe. We were in the airport for a long time because we couldn't rent a car, and we didn't know where to go. We were there for a long time. We just packed up and left, hoping without any plan, but we're hoping
Wow.
in an hotel. Anyway, it's a long story. To cut it short, though, that's how the idea of City Lending Center came about, right? We had bad credit, then we didn't have a credit card to rent a car. So I went from car rental to car rental, begging to rent a car, crying. I had a baby. And we're at this point, we were at the airport for over an hour. We still couldn't rent a car. And we didn't have Visa debit at the time. We didn't have Visa debit. So anyway, to cut a long story short, after a lot of tears, one of the car rentals decided to rent us a car, but we had to pay a lot of cash.
Wow.
Right. So again, we had a very, very challenging experience with credit and recovering from it. And I did go back to the bank after that. City lending didn't start, but hasn't started at the time. I went back to, but I had it at the back of my mind. What can I do to solve this problem? Right? Because we didn't know, and keep in mind, Dr. Vibe, I worked in the bank all those while before we came to Alberta. How did I have bad credit? We weren't bad spenders. Some consumers just don't know what they don't know. And it boils down to the credit education, which is what City Lending Centers is about. I wanted to find a way to educate our community, educate new immigrants while still building their credit. And just to make sure that no family had to go through what we went through as immigrants when we came in.
Really nice. So I love when people make their testimony. I love this. So how long was it from the time you thought about city lending till it became a reality?
Oh my word. I thought about it in 2011 with all the challenges that we had. And it didn't become a reality till I tried in 2006. Yeah, no, 2016. Sorry, I tried in 2016. I couldn't do it again. It's hard getting funded for those kind of stuff. I couldn't do it. I went back to the bank and then I registered the company in 2020. So 2021, the idea came about, registered the company in 2020, and we launched in 2021.
So it was a long journey.
It was a long journey, a long journey. And I was learning a lot along the way, right? While working in the bank, I kept learning and equipping myself with the right information to make it what it will become.
Nice. Were there any times along the journey you said, I'm going to quit, I'm not going to do this?
There wasn't a time. There was a lot of factors motivating me. Every day I meet new immigrants, a Black Canadian that we couldn't approve for a mortgage. due to bad credit. Every single time I meet a black person walk into the bank and they couldn't get what they're asking for, when I know it's way easier for their counterparts, it breaks my heart. I constantly thought about what I could do. I had a lady walk into the branch one day. I was the branch manager at Service Credit Union at the time. She wanted a mortgage. This lady she works at a daycare center. Her husband is a lawyer.
Okay.
At this point, they're immigrants, but now they are beginning to settle down. I realized that we couldn't help her because she had a few credit cards. She has maybe about 10 credit cards, if I wasn't wrong, and they were all maxed out, plus a
Oh,
line of credit.
wow.
So I asked her why. Why take all this credit card? Why max it out? She said when she came in, each bank she goes to, they give her. And when she goes back again to do some transactions, they tell her she qualifies for more. So she keeps taking it.
Sure.
And as she was taking it, she was sending the money back home, of course. Like every immigrant, right? We send money back home to families, to friends who need it. So I said, then why didn't you pay? She said, I didn't know I have to pay back. I said, really? Free money. Everybody has to pay back. I guess the challenge though is that she just didn't know. You'll be surprised what a lot of people don't know when they come in newly. I believe her because I know her, right? I know her. So at this point, our credit was completely ruined. So City Lending Centers wants to bridge that gap. We don't want credit cards being handed out to new immigrants as they come in. As you are probably aware, there's a lot of packages from the banks now for new immigrants. As soon as they
Mhm.
come in, they get $2,000. If they have a job, they get $5,000 immediately, and then they start increasing it. Some of the new immigrants go to every bank to get it, and then they have different bank accounts at different banks that they will eventually be paying for after a year, which they don't realize, money going down the drain.
Yep.
So the challenge there is that some of these immigrants are not finding jobs on time and they're having bad credits within the first 3 years of being in the country. So when they are ready to buy houses, we can help them at this point. And that's when the banks will say, sorry, we can't help you, you have bad credit, but they don't give you a solution. And that's the gap that City Lending Centers is trying to bridge. Trust me, I have nothing against the banks. I'm grateful. All my experience and everything that I've learned so far is from the banks. And I'm extremely grateful for that. It's just that the challenge there is there are some lending policies, some principles that were there maybe ever before we all came here. And some of those principles or policies are probably not created for us, and now we're here, and where do we go from here? So the
Mm.
goal of City Lending Centers is to make all that better. We have a secured credit card that we're encouraging everybody to apply for in order to support us, of course. Our credit card works like every other credit card in the banks. But most importantly, City Lending Centers educates and we help people fix their credit as well. I gave you a handful.
No, it's all good. It's and we want you to share about all the great offerings that your organization provides. Do you remember the first day that you opened for business?
It was meant to be, I think it was December. It was meant to be November 16. It didn't happen. Then it was going to be December. It didn't happen. That's another story for another day. But our first set of customers received their card around January 15th, somewhere around there.
Okay, so you are fairly new.
We are very, very new. And that's why, again, I'm glad you gave us the opportunity to come on this show. We
Mhm.
need to have at least 1,000 customers in order to stay in business and break even. So we're very new and we need to get to that 1,000 by the end of June. So come on, Black people.
Okay. If the producer can you just put up their website on our screen, please and thank you. Yeah, there's the website. You can and the web, yeah, there we go. So there's the website and the address citylending.ca. And we are a platform here that encouraging support of Black business. And it's, we can pull it off now. Get back to it. It's interesting. I was listening to a commentary the other day that organizations like yourself and many Black businesses have a big challenge because, first of all, non-melanated people don't really support Black business. And even a lot of melanated people don't support Black business. So I can see that you are a business, a service, and I can imagine, well, I don't know. Has it been a challenge to get the support that you need from the Black community?
I think we're getting there. As a community, there's a lot more work we need to do. I think we need to understand that we're not in competition with each other. And I think the moment we're able to cross that hurdle, we will be bigger than the world can imagine. I think for most parts, we're always thinking we're competing with the next Black person. You know, there's a saying, something people say about the slave master. And I can give you examples from my experience in the corporate world where I created a Black employee network at an organization for the first time. And we have some Black people there that will be the ones sabotaging the process. Right? Again, and they don't think they're sabotaging it, but they're just trying to be more friendly with certain people so they can get promoted. But in the process of doing that, you're killing the goal. You're killing the opportunity for other people. And it's no different in the business world, in entrepreneurship. I think we just have to do a better job of coming together, having one voice, and standing strong. So will I say that I've gotten support from the Black community? Yes, I've got a lot of support. It could be more, it could be better, but I've got a lot of support. BBPA has been fantastic. Nadine and her team, they've been extremely supportive. I couldn't have asked for a better organization to work with. Face Coalition, Tiffany Calendar and her team, they've been fantastic. I cannot complain. So I've had quite a bit of support from the Black community. However, I think we just need to get the word out, let people know who we are, what we do, so that they can all come on board. If you can use a credit card from any major bank, you can use a credit card from CC Lending Centers. Right? And that's the only way we're going to grow.
You're doing your sales thing. What are some of the services that City Lending provides?
So we, when a customer comes on board, the first thing we try to do is you apply for the credit card. Once the credit card arrives and we activate it, we develop a plan. Because we just don't want you to have a credit card. We want you to be educated. So we have credit specialists that would meet with you once a month for the next 6 months. Because for most part, people do have goals. A lot of people with any credit issues is that they're looking to buy a house, or they want to buy a car, or they want to start a business. And we don't want to leave them high and dry. So the moment you become a customer of CC Lending Centers by applying for our credit card, we assign you a credit specialist that will work with you for 6 months on whatever your credit goal is. We also have credit monitoring services where you have unlimited access to your credit, and you don't have to have bad credit. This is the most misconception I hear out there. People think you come to CC Lending Centers only if you have bad credit. Absolutely not. We have a lot of customers at CC Lending Centers now that are customers because they don't want to get in debt. They want to avoid that. Our credit card is a secure credit card, dollar for dollar, fully secured. If you want a credit card for $300, you have to give us $300. But the goal of that, Dr. Vibe, is to teach people how to spend their own money. Use your own money while building credit. If you have a credit card, a non-secure credit card for $3,000, Dr. Vibe is going to take you about 6 years to pay it off. And even at that 6 years, you're paying almost double that amount if you're paying minimum payment. So those are some of the things that City Lending Centers is trying to teach people. If you want a credit card for $1,000, let's save that $1,000. Let's keep it somewhere. We're going to give you a credit card for $1,000. If for any reason you have a hiccups, life happens, which happens to the best of us. It happened to me, and I was a branch manager at the time when I had bad credit. If something happens to you and you lose your job, we can absolutely take the 1,000, apply it to your current balance, and you won't have to worry about having bad credit.
Good.
Okay.
That's fantastic. That is really, really good. I want to ask, there's so many different questions because you deal with money, and of course, we all want to know about money. What are some of the challenges that you see a number of Black Canadians have dealing with banks? Because you have a long career history with banks. The banks is one thing, the loans are another thing. I think they're two different subjects. Just what are some of the challenges that you feel Black Canadians have dealing with banks, and how can we get better dealing with banks?
You know, the biggest piece I tell you is a few people, there's a lack of trust. Not all Black people are here to defraud the bank. That is a level of bias that I think we still have, or they still have in the banking industry. I had a lawyer friend that shared something with me. She went into the bank to send a draft to somewhere, and they must have asked her a million questions. Where did she get this amount of money from?
Come on.
They asked her, she's a lawyer, but again, it feels like a lot of time Black people have to explain themselves, explain who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment I say, oh, I'm Dr. Vibe, I have an amazing show, then maybe you have an idea that I probably have enough money. But why do you have to describe or explain who you are?
Right.
In order to be trusted? That's the experience of a lot of Black people. And as a branch manager, of course, I do the best that I can, every branch that I manage, to educate my team. Don't make assumptions. You just don't know. Whether the person is indigenous or the person is Black, just treat them the same way you would treat everybody else. If you're not going to ask that white guy for their identification, don't ask the Black man next to him for his identification. So it's a little bit of doubt. And I tell you, the first time, and I won't tell you the bank, my branch manager, that was my first day. The branch manager pulls me into her office and she said, I know you're a Nigerian, and I know Nigerians do a lot of fraud.
What? Hold on. That's what they said.
That's exactly, her name is in my head. I just can't say. That's
Don't
exactly
say it.
She pulled me into her office, Dr. Vibe. It was my first day. Again, this was in Toronto. The branch was at Killam Finch. I can tell you that much. She put me to her office and she said that to me. She said, I'm watching you. I just want you to know that, because Nigerians do a lot of fraud. Now, Nigerians in every country that they go to are one of the most educated Africans that I've seen. And Nigerians are amongst the most successful immigrants, African immigrants, in every country they go to. So to just generalize, you know what I mean? To generalize that
it's called stereotypes.
All Nigerians might be fraudulent was just beyond me. So it's very similar to a lot of Black people, right? There's always a lot of assumptions that are made, and you feel that you have to always explain yourself, right, in order to get a lean way. So when it comes to lending, for example, for Black people within the bank, a lot of Black people are not qualifying. There is a guy who, I won't mention the bank he works for. They have a Black program, Black entrepreneurship program. And he said, I've been here for 3 years. I've approved 2 Black people. And those 2 Black people, one of them is now declaring bankrupt, going bankrupt.
Oh, no.
So I asked him, I said, what is the problem? Only 2 Black people in 3 years. What do you foresee to be the problem? Here is what the problem is for Black people coming to the bank to apply for loans, either an entrepreneur or personal. We don't have enough generational wealth. In a lot of organizations, Black people have the lowest paying jobs. There's a few up there, but I tell you, it's very few. I was the only Black branch manager for many years in Edmonton, right? So there's a few up there, but a lot of Black people they have low-paying jobs. There's an organization that owns a call center, and most of the people working in the call center are Black. There wasn't a single supervisor or shift lead that was Black, and I'm saying over 90% of Black people working in that call center. So one of the challenges is the investment. We don't have enough accumulated assets. A lot of our counterparts, and I would say it bluntly, a lot of white people have that. Especially with Black immigrants, it's even more challenging. An average Black immigrant will come here in their late 20s, or early 30s. They
Right.
have to start all over again. They have to go back to school, right? They have to rebuild. In the process of rebuilding and settling, they get into a lot of debt. Because that's the only way they can do it.
Student debt, student debt, student debt.
Student loan debt. You can imagine. And once they have student loan debt, it's almost impossible for us to give them any loan or help them get a house in the bank. So those are some of the challenges that Black people. So they have a lot of debt, but not a lot of asset, not enough asset, right? There is an imbalance there.
Sure.
Therefore, Black people are not qualifying for these loans that our white counterparts are qualifying for automatically. Let's look at the entrepreneur journey. Black entrepreneurs, white entrepreneurs, right? Most of the time they have an edge, right? They always have an edge because there's somebody who knows somebody who speaks for somebody.
Yep.
Right?
We have the relationships.
Right, relationships. Keep in mind though, a lot of Black immigrants, or let's just say Black entrepreneurs, we're not there yet. Where those group of angry people that are not great at building relationships, except you talk and act a certain way or do things a certain way in order for you to be fully integrated into the system. I could tell you this because I dealt with a lot of executives as a branch manager and as somebody who started a diversity and inclusion conversation at an organization. I dealt with a lot of executives. And, a particular executive said to me, Margaret, if you want to get to this level, you just have to talk and act a certain way, which I wasn't willing to do. You're being told to bring your true self to work, but they don't really want your true self at work, right? We speak with both ends of our mouth. So the main challenge, one of the biggest challenge that we have as Black people when it comes to getting loans in the bank is because once you don't have enough income, the current debt that they have is already way, way, way more than the income that they have. Therefore, they don't qualify. So economically, a lot of us are already set up for failure economically. When you have that job, then you're here and you have that much debt, where do you go from there? It's going to take you years to pay off that debt. So how do you get to the next level? So those are some of the challenges within the Black community. And that's why CC Lending Centers started. We're starting by saying, don't go and start getting those credit cards and those lines of credit. Let's start gradually. Our credit limit starts from $300 to $25,000. If all you have is $300, let's set you up with a $300 credit card. It's your money. If for any reason you run into any problem, we're going to take that $300, apply to your balance, and you can start all over again. Keep in mind that you don't have any Uncle John in that is going to speak for you.
That's true.
So that's the main challenge within the community. I'm sorry I took you touch on my topic right there.
No, it's okay. No, when we communicated via email, one of the first times he says, I'm passionate about this topic and I want to talk about it. And anytime I get a chance to share about it, I'm going to go in on it. So we want you to go in. So that's very important. Let's talk a little bit about the article that you appeared in the Globe Mail. And if our that'd be great. And the article, Canada's big six banks almost came together to help Black entrepreneurs, but then went their separate ways. First things first, congratulations for your comments in it. Second of all, when you were approached by Chris Hene, who I've actually interviewed on one of my platforms to do this, what was your initial response?
Honestly, to be honest and put this out there, when Chris approached me, he wanted to talk about face loan. I actually saw that headline the same time everybody saw it. The conversation that I had with Chris was actually focused on face loan. And this question was, he wanted to know if I had any challenges when I applied. And I would tell you 110%. I had no issues when I applied for face loan. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the first set of people that got it. Like every other new organization, face is not perfect. They're in no way perfect. They were new. And they had this big hurdle in front of them. For the first time, the first Black organizations given the huge responsibility to give Black people loans. And keep in mind the challenges. Remember the challenges I just described with Black people.
Right.
Now we have this Black organization who needed to give Black people loan. However, they were not solely making that decision, Dr. Vibe. Let's put that out there too. There is also BDC, Big Brother, watching over and underwriting it. Because I understand a lot of people were not understanding. Face is not answering us. Face Coalition, we have to give them a lot of prompts, a lot of kudos for what they've been able to achieve so far. So when Chris asked me that question, I said to him, I said, to be honest with you, I had no problem whatsoever with Face. Every single person that I work with at Face during my application process were fantastic. Binningham was amazing. Peter Perry's out of this world. They were amazing. Face did an amazing job. And I think as a community, we need to come together and continue to support Face to the best of our ability. I had no problem whatsoever. Did they ask me for a lot of documents? Absolutely. It's the same thing when you go to a bank, you have to produce those documents. And the reason they ask for those documents is to be able to know. They want to know if you have the ability to pay back. Let's just get it straight. Face is also a business, right? They are running a business. It's not charity. It's a loan. It's not a grant. Therefore, they have to underwrite the process, right? They have to underwrite the process. And that's what I explained to Chris when he had the conversation with me. The major banks, for example, a few banks came out with the Black Entrepreneurship Loan. And I'm still waiting to see or to hear or to see the data of how many Black people has actually been approved from those loans.
That's a good question. I think, I don't know, did you read the article Chris wrote after that one?
I didn't read it.
Okay.
I scanned through, but I didn't read it. And I'll tell you, the reason why I didn't read it was because I guess there's a few people there that were not painting the right picture about what Face does. I get it. Those same people could have gone to the bank, apply, and still would not qualify. But the reality is that Face does look at other factors. Dr. Vibe, in the real world, banks won't give me that loan to start city lending centers.
So I just want to hold on that point then. Because I think, and I'm going to see if I can get the other article up that he wrote, but I think less than 10% of the applicants have gotten loan approval. So if that is the case, should some people who are applying for loans may not be ready?
Maybe that's possible, but here is my thought, my honest thought. I think a lot of people that apply, maybe there's a few things that we could do differently, right? People apply, maybe there are conversations that we needed to have initially. And I tell you, the biggest piece that I see, Dr. Vibe, remember all those challenges that I explained about the struggles that Black people have when we're trying to look for loans? A lot of people are in a lot of debt. Credits are already ruined. There isn't a lot of asset. So what Face really does is when they get all these applications, right, and they underwrite it, they look at it and they say, you know what, we believe in this business plan. Face will now take that application, go to BDC, right? And then BDC looks at it too. And then they come back to Face and say, well, we agree or we don't agree. What's Face to do, Dr. Vibe? I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, here's my question then. What is the role of Face? Because the final decision is coming from BDC. Why don't Black entrepreneurs just deal directly with BDC?
I think that's a question for the government to answer, right? That's a question for the government to answer. If we're giving these funds to Face Coalition, right, for them to do the work for the Black community, there's a lot of amazing, qualified, knowledgeable people within the Black community like myself. And I'm not bragging, but I do have a lot of banking experience. And I have a lot of underwriting experience. I think as Black people, as Black organizations, we have the 110% ability to handle this loan and disburse it to our people. But again, I don't know what the partnership is with Face and BDC. I can't speak to that.
Understood.
But the only thing I
Understood.
could speak to is that I know how hard Tiffany, Chris Paris, and Biniam fought to get my loan approved with BDC. They spoke for me. They fought for me together. That tells me that if they could fight for me because my loan was unconventional, they could do the same thing for every Black person. Keep in mind, this is me, Margaret, with years of banking experience. And I have assets. My husband and I have assets. And we have investments. You understand? And they had to fight for me.
So,
Do you get where I'm going?
yeah, I see. And that just tells me, though, realistically, in my thought process, that the majority of people who are applying don't have what you and your family have. So in reality, it may not be the best opportunity that they can. It may not tell not well for many of them. Many of them.
That's part of it too. So to be clear, I would have qualified in the bank anyway if it wasn't city lending centers.
But you know what? I believe that you're the minority.
Yes.
And you would probably you'd be able to answer that better than I would.
Yes.
With your banking experience.
Exactly. And even at that, right? The only thing I was not asked for was my blood type. Just so you know. And I was able to prove.
So then let me ask, because this is something I hear from a lot of people who applied, why are they asking so many questions when you just said they asked for everything except your blood type?
I will tell you why. When somebody is asking for a loan of, let's say, 100,000, right? For a loan of 100,000, your payment is going to be around 1,800.
Yep.
We want to make sure that this person will have the ability to make that payment once we give them the $100,000. Regardless, keep in mind, again, this is the first time the government is giving us this money. And as Black people, as a community, we want to also prove to them that we're not going to mess up. We're going to make sure we're giving this loan to people that will actually be able to pay back. So during the underwriting process, there will be one or two things that they will come back and ask you for. I was prepared because I know what they need. Do you understand, Dr. Vibe? That's the difference too. I knew what they would ask for. I have everything. And I know there were a lot of organizations that were helping people put documents together and things like that, right? Maybe what we needed to do is come together and have series of conversations about the things that are really needed so that people are not going back and forth with documents. Because sometimes documents I worked in a bank for 20 years. I was a branch manager for 11 years. I know how it is when we tell a customer, okay, we need an updated pay stubs. Sometimes it takes 2-3 weeks. We're waiting for these pay stubs. Then the customer will call and say, hey, I'm waiting for a response on the loan. Then we say, hey, we're waiting for that updated pay stub. Then they go, oh, sorry, I forgot. Oh, I thought I sent it. Or maybe they sent it at a different email and it fell through the crack. I'm not making any excuses for Face, but what I'm saying is that Face Coalition came out because they wanted to support the Black community. They went to Parliament, they went to Senate, they fought to get that loan in order to be able to give it to us. Let's start by giving them some prompts. A lot of work would have gone into that process. Like every other new organization, similar to my company, City Learning Centers, I'm not there yet. I'm talking to you about credit specialists the other time for our customers. But how many credit specialists do I have to serve hundreds of customers? The struggle also could be maybe capacity, because maybe Face was not expecting to get as many applications as they got. And from what I understand, they recently are working on hiring more people. So the first thing that we need to do as a community is to come together and give Face as much support as possible. Yes, a lot of people were not getting responses. Yes, a lot of people were being asked for more documents, but they're asking for those documents because they also have to present it to the partners that they have. And if they present the documents to their partners and the partners need more stuff, then the partners need more stuff. But I tell you, what we need to do, maybe people like myself, who is really, really experienced in the industry, needs to find a way to go work with Face as well, in order to help with some of these things. But I will tell you something, Dr. Vibe. Victor Paris is a very, very experienced lender. He was a director at TD before he took on that role at FACE. So I believe they know what they are doing. There's a lot of challenges, there's no doubt. At the same time, FACE Coalition, FACE Coalition is looking beyond the document. They are looking at other factors in order to qualify people. And I'm confident that now that they're hiring on more people, things will move a little bit faster. If anybody whatsoever have a question about the FACE process, come ask me. I don't mind. Flip me an email, I'll respond to you.
Okay.
Whatever it is that you need, I will let you know what you need. But let's just look at it from an objective point of view. FACE is not giving grants, it's a loan. And there is a process to that.
Well, a number of things, and thanks for your thorough explanation there. I think that so you may not have seen this article, but fewer than 1% of the applications for Ottawa's Black Leadership Program were approved in the first year. And they had over 16,000 applications from what I understand. So fewer than 1% have been approved. Listening to as many different sides as I had through this, I think one of the opportunities could have been, and you can comment on this if you want or not, maybe a session before people filled out the application saying, this is what you need before you just go and do it. If you don't have this, you can't apply. This is what you need before just rushing and filling it out and saying, oh, I don't need, or even getting frustrated. But I can understand some people's frustration because they didn't know, they weren't told. They said, go for a loan. And we can't make the assumption that everyone has dealt with a bank.
You're right. I agree with you 100%. And like I said to you, I had years of experience going into this. And I still got asked, and I had to present a lot of documents. I don't think an average Joe would have been able to do that. No. Right? I asked the right questions. When anybody comes back to me and they ask this, I know exactly what to say and how to say it. And in a lending process, one word you will say can kill your application. Right?
Yeah, there's an art of writing an application and applying for an application.
Exactly. One word could kill it, especially when you're talking to the wrong people. You know, we used to say one thing about Mrs. Smith, and I mean this in the best way, right? It depends on her mood if she's going to approve that application or not.
Yeah.
And if you say the wrong thing, or she sees the wrong thing, that's it for your application. So you're right. I'm agreeing with you that maybe we could have done a few sessions, right? Explaining and helping people understand what they need. And I'm telling you 110%, I am sure that FACE has learned a lot. They've gotten a lot of feedback. And now that they're hiring on more people, I think you begin to see a lot of things change and people will be answered more rapidly. But overall, I think FACE is doing a fantastic job. I give them a lot of prompts for even coming up with this idea. A lot of people that currently have the loan might not have gotten it from the bank, but they got it through FACE. I want us to also think of that.
So I'm just going to quote from Mr. Hane's article that was published in the Globe and Mail. If you want, it is available online. It was from April 5th, 2022. I'll just go quote two paragraphs here. Since May 31st, the fund has received 16,000 applications. According to data from the government, FACE and BDC, 939 of those applications have been reviewed. 142 received initial acceptance from FACE and 104 final approval from BDC. 19 loans are still under review by BDC. A total value of $14.7 million in loans have been approved by FACE, with $8.6 million paid out so far. The budget is $160 million. FACE and the government blamed the low number of approvals on missing paperwork. FACE said it considered 14,000 files to be incomplete. So
back to what you and I are saying earlier on. Let's go back to the what you've just read. So FACE has approved a couple of applications. They are waiting on BDC. There are some that they approved and was rejected by BDC. What does that say? Big brother, big sister. I won't say no more. I think Face is doing the very best that they can to support the Black community. If I Margaret is the government, Dr. Vibe, you're the middleman. I want to give you $1 million to give to 3 businesses. But now that I've given you this $1 million, I want to make sure that you're working with James. James has blue eyes, tall, and very articulate. Every person you're going to give this loan, James will also have a say. James has to also look at it. So you might be getting frustrated because a few that you would like to give money to already, James has some issues with them. And you know 100% that James has to be happy with you. What are you going to do? Now, I'm speaking in Proverbs, right? I'm speaking in Proverbs, but I know you understand exactly what I mean.
Yep.
If I just want to give you that money and say, here you go, Dr. Vibe, run with it, just maybe give 200 Black businesses $10,000 each. Then you go out, but there are criteria that are given to you. I have given you a few criteria. I didn't give you a blank check. You have a few criteria that you have to meet. That means all these people, businesses that you want to give it to, you might not. You were probably very eager, Dr. Vibe, to get that money because you're happy. Now I'm going to help my community. Then suddenly you're realizing, oh gosh, I can't give it to all these people because all these criteria I agreed to. Then what are you going to do? Some of these people would think Dr. Vibe is bad. And one or two that got it will say Dr. Vibe is great. What are you going to do?
It just sounds from what I'm hearing that the process could have been better.
Yes, could have been way better.
It could have been, there's opportunity for it to be better. And the other concern I have is 14,000 applications.
Capacity.
Right? Those are not just businesses. Those are Black Canadians' lives. So I just think, again, from looking, I don't know if the application was available before education could have been done. It sounds like people said, go apply. And a number of things that we won't get. And this is not a face program, so I'm going to transition from that conversation. But I appreciate your, some people say courage, but I appreciate your thoughts on this situation, because people say, well, why are you still talking about it? Well, this is a generational thing. This is just not something that's happening this year. This is affecting people's lives for a long time to come. So I don't think it'll be the first conversation you're going to have about face. It won't be the last, because I'm sure you're dealing with it on a somewhat regular basis too.
Yeah, no, let's just come together and support each other is what I would say. Something that I want to put out there is that people in power will not give up power just like that. Anybody in power wants to hold on to their level of authority. So they will not just give all the power out and say, take it and go. They will still want to have an eye in the process. Well,
as one of my close colleagues said, people have to realize banks are in the business of selling money.
Right.
So if you can come from it from that perspective, it may give some clarity on the situation. We'll start winding it down in a moment or two. Want to get your thoughts about all the banks that were all together at this in the beginning, who are now, most of them, offering their own loan programs. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, banks, like you said, are in the business of making money. Face is also a business that would like to make money. If I can make money on my own, why should I join hands with you? If I can make money from these people as well. And that goes back to the question that I asked earlier. I want to know how many Black people has been approved from these programs. It's very easy for us to make a lot of political statements, either from the government or maybe from any bank. What we just want to do, I guess, as Black people is come together, support our own, and continue to lift each other up, for lack of better words, or for lack of Dr. Vibe, we need a Black bank. I think that's what I want to say.
Well, I know in Ontario
A black bank.
there's an Ontario in Ontario there's an organization called PACU, the acronym PACU, the Pan African Credit Union, that have just filed their papers to get something started. But it has to. You said it right there. Blacks need to have their own, right?
We need a black bank. Yeah.
Because if someone else is writing your check, you don't have any control.
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what the proverb I said earlier was saying, that when I have a lot of power, I'm not just going to let go of my power just like that. Except you've proven to me that you really deserve to have that power, or you take it from me by all means. And the only way to do that is to have your own and be independent.
Just refer to one or two last things. In Nigeria, is there more sense of working together in Nigeria than you've experienced in Canada amongst Black people?
In every society, no society is perfect. In Nigeria, a lot of Black, not even Black, a lot of people come together and they put money together. Like a lot of the market women, one of the ways that they gather money for their businesses is to come put money together, and somebody takes it every month. I don't know what the word is for it here. But it's almost like a cooperative, small. There's a lot of smaller cooperative,
right?
And it takes cooperation in order to do that. It takes trust in order to do that.
Yep.
Right. So a lot of people, and I know this happens in a lot of Black countries. People come together and they put small money together and they help each other out, set up a business and things like that. In Canada, everything is around credit. Everything is built around credit. We're a credit-driven economy, credit-driven society. A lot of immigrants coming in don't quite understand the concept of credit. So It could sound like free money to them, to a few of them. So the difference between African countries and Canada, I guess, not just a thing of working together. Our hands are tied. We're all looking to the bank. We're all looking to this institution in order to achieve anything we need to achieve financially. Not until we gain that freedom of expression, freedom of thoughts, economic freedom, then we might not get to where we need to get to as a community. So when you think about togetherness, my thoughts are, I don't know if it's going to happen in Canada for us if we don't do it ourselves. Someone like me might be considered a rebel, a corporate rebel. It's okay, I'll wear the heart. That's fine.
Well, you told me before we went live, you used to be a troublemaker. It sounds like you still keep that hat on once in a while.
Right? Again, all I'm advocating for is equity. Equity in banking, equity for Black employees everywhere, because as a former Black employee, I saw a lot. Right? I see how hard Black people would work just to prove themselves in order to get promoted, and they still don't get promoted. And then when they complain about it, they get fired eventually. A struggle. And then I've seen a lot of Black entrepreneurs, of course, not getting access to capital. And now that we're talking about capital everywhere, do we really have those capital everywhere? Are people really gaining access to it? The Black entrepreneurship loans from all these banks, it would be fantastic to start. Maybe eventually we'll begin to see data on how many Black people are actually approved. I asked somebody, I said, do you mind telling me what the difference is between the Black entrepreneurship loan and the business loans you already have?
Good question.
And then she goes, well, the interest rate is different. And
it's interesting you mentioned that. I asked that again. I asked that of a bank, that question. I asked them, what's the difference between your loans to Black entrepreneurs versus your other? And they said, we're not going to answer. I said,
it's a good question to ask, I guess. And I think this is the more reason why we all need to come together and support FACE Coalition as much as we can. I think FACE is here to bridge that gap as much as they can. I think the criteria that the bank has is still the same thing, because I applied for those loans and they asked me for the exact same thing. Was FACE asking for the same thing? Absolutely. But are they looking at other factors as well? Absolutely. they are.
Which
Right.
is a good thing. But at the end of the day, BDC has the final say, right? So those other things,
Margaret didn't say it. Margaret didn't say it.
right, no, but you did say the BDC is involved. So obviously, BDC has a very big say on what the final answer is,
What
right?
is
So
Face to do? Face is doing their best, is all I want people to know. They are doing the very best that they can to approve as many people as possible. If Face have their way, they would approve everybody that applied. That much I know.
understood. We've covered a lot today. I think that, do you have any final words for us?
The final word I would say is this: what we need in the Black community is economic empowerment. If you're going to get economic empowerment, you have to move away from accumulating more debt. If you want to get out of debt, you want to get a better credit so that you have more flexibility and more access to capital, City Lending Centers is where you want to be. We have a secured credit card. We want the Black community to come apply for this credit card so that we can grow, we can have a call center and employ more Black people and grow within our community. Let's begin to support our own. Go to our website, apply for our credit card. Yes, it's secured. We don't want you to get into debt. Put down your own money, you get the amount you put down. And you can use it for your businesses as well, Dr. Vibe. You have to apply too. You can use it for your business.
You want me to apply?
You have to apply.
Oh, I have to apply now.
You
Okay.
have to apply now. You don't have a choice. Then
okay, you see, family, I've been put under manners. I have to apply, or Alberta's gonna come and get me.
Exactly, you have to apply, right? This is the credit card I wanted to show you. This is a credit card designed right for Black people, Black and white.
Okay.
Is a secured.
Can you put up again, please? There, and see, her name is on it, so she's talking the talk.
Right. So I don't mind if you see my number. That's fine. You're not gonna use the card, right?
Right.
So the credit card is here for the Black community. It's a secured credit card. You're not going to get into that. You give us $300, we give you $300 credit card. God forbid anything happens to your job, we take that balance, we apply it, and you can start all over again. If you're a business owner, the credit card you're applying for at the bank is under your name. And it's on that reporting under your credit bureau. So if you can get it at the bank, you can get it with City Lending Centers. Those are my final words. Every single Black person listening to me, go to our website and apply for that credit card today. Thank you, Dr. Vibe.
Hello, my name is Margaret Adekule, founder of CLC, City Lending Centers. I am excited to introduce our guaranteed secured credit card to you today. If you're new to Canada and you're trying to build new credit, this credit card is designed with you in mind. If you're trying to apply for a mortgage and you're being declined because your credit score is low, this credit card is designed to help you improve your credit score. If you currently filed for bankruptcy or consumer proposal, this credit card is also designed for you. Either you want to build new credit or you have damaged credit, you will be approved for this credit card. There are no judgments and we don't pull your credit. All you have to do is go to our website, www.citylending.ca. The first step is to complete the application, input your identification. The next step is to send us your deposit. Now, the amazing thing about this credit card is that you can determine your own credit limit based on your deposit. Simply send us your deposit, and step 3, we will send you the credit card. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on 1-888-330-1239. Thank you.
Bam!
Fantastic.
You weren't expecting that today, were you?
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you.
Wow, like she does her own promos and everything. Bam, fantastic. Thank you, producer, for doing that. That was really good. Can you just put up the website address, City Learning Center? There we go. There's the website address. And also, if you want to get in touch with that, Mark, there you go. There's the email address. So we got everything. Everything.
Thank you. Black for Black. Go Black.
You know, as one of the gentlemen I listen to say, be one.
Mm-hmm.
B1. Black
We
first.
have to stand
B1.
together. Mm-hmm.
B1. Well, Margaret, I'd like to thank you and your family and your team for everything you have done, are doing, and will be doing. Want to thank you for your mother.
She's the one to thank for sure.
One last question for you. What characteristics do you have that your mother gave you?
Strong-willed. Very strong-willed. My mother's name is Mary. She wants to get something done. She's going to get it done at all means. You can't stop her. Even if she has to jump 10 mountains, she'll get it done. And I have that from her.
I have a feeling you're the same. You're the mountain. Well, you're in Alberta, so you got the Rockies in you. So you're the mountain climber. There you go. How do you stay warm out there? Oh, my goodness.
We wear sweaters.
That's a next conversation. The first time you arrived in Alberta, that's another conversation. Margaret, thank you so much. You take care. As always, remember to give yourself grace, and also to you and your family. Do not manage your time, manage your energy. Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner. 2018 Innovation Award winner, given by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also hosts the only online conversation world that's sponsored by Dove Men Care and Dad Central. Big announcement coming up in the next 30 days about that too. I would like to thank everyone who watches live or on the replay. And always I end off with this. Live your life like a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. Thanks to BIA Media for the production. And two last things. Actually, I said the grace part. Lastly, remember, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. You can catch me during the week at 9 a.m. Monday and Friday mornings with Ryan Knight hosting the Morning Vibe, and Saturday evenings at 9 p.m. You can catch me with Aisha K. Staggers and Jill Jones, where we do State of Things with Aisha and Jill. Subscribe to the Facebook and YouTube page. And a big shout out to people who are subscribing on the YouTube page, getting close to 1,000 followers. So if you're up to it, please subscribe. Thanks, BIA Media. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good. See you next week.
Ottawa's Black Business Alliance, a place where you can learn to be your own person and build the future you want for yourself. Our mission is to help young entrepreneurs achieve their business goals through the best coaching, managing, consulting, and a slew of other services. Together, we can become a pillar in the Afro-Canadian community. Don't hesitate to contact us through our website at www.oba.ca, and remember that building tomorrow starts today. OBA Consulting. Take hold of your future.